Wow, if even Stephen A. Smith is outraged over Dr. Fauci pleading the fifth over and over and over again, what does that mean for the healing of our nation?
I am very happy to testify before any Congressional Oversight Committee. I have nothing to hide. I can explain and validate everything that I've done. So, you know, it's going to be inconvenient if they actually are out there essentially threatening to make my life miserable. But I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully, because we have nothing to hide at all.
In the red folder on your table is a copy of Section 192 of Title II of the U.S. Code. Your counsel has been provided a copy as well. That section makes it a crime for a witness appearing under subpoena to refuse to answer any questions pertinent to the question under inquiry. Do you have that in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Let the record record that the witness has refused to answer whether there's a folder in front of him based on his Fifth Amendment right.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this special edition of Straight Shooter with yours truly. I don't know if y'all saw it or not, but did you see Anthony Fauci? Remember him? Remember Anthony Fauci? Who was overseeing the National Institute of Health? Remember that man? Remember the man that was basically the face of the nation when it came to the coronavirus pandemic that took place in this country in 2020, 2021? Remember that? That man. He was on Capitol Hill yesterday. And the story is that the man took the fifth, exercised his Fifth Amendment privileges 111 times. 111 times. It was so bad on Capitol Hill yesterday as Dr. Anthony Fauci appeared before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee yesterday. It was so bad that Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri asked him about the tie he was wearing. I think he asked him about his suit as well or something, just to showcase how he's not answering anything. 111 times. Anthony Fauci said, through the advice of my attorneys, I'm exercising my Fifth Amendment rights as a citizen of the United States of America.
Yeah, that's a good one. It wasn't just over and over again. I didn't realize it was over 100 times.
Wow.
He pleaded the fifth. In fact, one of the senators even asked him, Dr. Fauci, are you wearing a tie today? And he said, on the advice of counsel, I refuse to answer on the grounds I might incriminate myself. It's amazing, Rich. I mean,
yeah, wow.
For a long time, we wouldn't even be able to talk about this on YouTube because they'd pull it down and they'd give us a strike. Mm-hmm. You know, anything having to do with the COVID was, you know, you couldn't do it. But now it's very clear based on his diaries. So you know how it worked, right? That he kept diaries on government equipment. Mm-hmm. Therefore, those diaries are public information. Mm-hmm. So that's how we have these diaries. Mm-hmm. And he knew a whole lot more in contrast to what he was telling all of us. And mm-hmm. I don't mean that to mean that he didn't tell us stuff because he couldn't tell us stuff. No. He told us falsehoods. Mm-hmm. You know, he had his own suspicions about it being from the Wuhan lab, because the Wuhan lab is called the Wuhan lab. They specifically do gain-of-function research. And in Wuhan, that's where it started. Mm-hmm. So that was his impulse. He said, oh, the stuff that I was personally profiting for in these Wuhan labs, because as the director of NIH, he gets a chunk of any kind of benefit that comes out of it. He didn't say it. He kept mum about it. Who knows why? He didn't answer any questions. We don't know why.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever watched the Dave Chappelle show when he does this skit about if Dave things were reversed and drug dealers were treated like white collar criminals. And so he had this character named Tron who was like a drug dealer that wore a gold chain. And he was in front of congressional hearings and he was saying, I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. F-I-F. Let me write it out. F-I-F.
I like it.
I plead the fifth. That's what Dr. Fauci reminded me of. And the problem is this, you know, and I'm going to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, because, you know, no one knew what territory we were in with this COVID. It was fairly new to the whole world. And you want our scientists to be able to take risk and not have that worry of being persecuted.
Yeah.
But the volume he pleaded the fifth on, over 100 times, and all his interviews prior to coming into congressional hearings, he was saying, like, I'll give you full disclosure. I have no problems talking about everything. And then once his moment to talk about to give his disclosure, he pled the fifth. That's where I have more of a problem. You know, I want scientists to take risks during, pandemics and stuff like this because, you got to move the ball in these situations, and you don't want to have scientists afraid of being sued or having jail time. I get that, but I don't like the fact that he said he will give full disclosure because he had so much confidence. He was so arrogant. I ain't going to say arrogant. He was so confident that what he did was the right thing, that he was fully honest, that he went on all these on the interview network saying that he will tell the truth. He will give you full disclosure. And then when his moment to shine, he did not give that. He pled the fifth. F-I-F fifth.
100%, Rich. He didn't do it. And the thing is, one thing is to plead the fifth if we didn't have the diaries. We make the guy plead the fifth. F-I-F. But we have these diaries. And in these diaries, he says stuff. He says stuff like, first of all, you see what this part is not really against Fauci, because the Daily Show took a different spin on it. They tried to make it seem like it was nothing, like there's really no public interest in knowing what really happened during those 3 to 5 years when everything was turned upside down. For example, Fauci said up and down on various interviews, and we can even include one of these, that he did not have anything to do with the school lockdowns, which I think almost everybody except for the teachers union agrees now that it was a stupid idea. These kids were not suffering when they were getting sick unless they had pre-existing conditions. These kids, kids are made of rubber. You bounce them on the ground, they snap right back up. And it was clear that this disease was not going to really affect these kids other than give them a really bad flu if they didn't have any comorbidities. And so the guy said, I never shut these schools down. Hey, it wasn't me. But in his diaries, he said, that basically that he spearheaded the shutting down of schools, and he's glad he made that decision. That was his contemporaneous notes at the time, that he's the one that gave the order. So, this is the kind of things that he has to answer for. Because the reality is, the Daily Show was trying to make hay out of the fact that, all he did was think he was a big shot because celebrities were calling him on the phone because he would write about that stuff and about how he was the most he was the most recognized figure on the planet. It's just stuff like that, stuff that somebody new to celebrity would say. So I don't really hold that against him, but on the government servers, he kept a diary like that on the government servers. This is the kind of thing that brings down big men. I don't know if you remember General Petraeus. He went down because he was having an affair with a reporter, and he used his Gmail. Yeah. And he was like sharing information with her. He didn't use he didn't use CIA assets, but he was using Gmail. He didn't even use like Hillary's private server for that.
Well, that's what happened also with the University of Michigan dean. Maybe maybe 10 years ago, he was having an affair that was not. That's what they said. He can't have affair with co-workers, right. Especially he had a position of power. Yeah. He was using his umich.edu email to have the correspondence with this affair.
Yeah. Before today, I would have thought, gee, that's the power of the pussy. You just forget your wits and you just do really reckless things.
Yes.
It's kind of like there's this parasite called toxoplasmosis, which rats carry. So sometimes cats when they play with and bite mice and rats, they pick up toxoplasmosis, and when they poop in their litter box, then they've got the parasite in the poop. That's why they tell pregnant women you can't clean cat litter because they might have toxoplasmosis, which is bad for the fetus. But the effect it has on rats is it makes rats impervious to the fear of cats. So it takes away their fear of cats. So the rats will see a cat and they'll just sit there and let the cat get them. Cat gets them, then he gets the parasite, he dumps it out, a rat will eat it, a rat gets toxoplasmosis, and then he serves himself up to the cat, to a new cat. Evolutionarily speaking, it's probably a way for the pathogen to spread. It makes these mice lose their fear. And so I thought, okay, power of the pussy. It makes you lose your fear and you use stupid things. But what's Fauci's excuse? Yeah, there was none of this involved with Fauci. It was exclusively just
the ego.
The ego. He didn't bring his own laptop. He just did it on the company server. It's incredible. What does it say about what a man's sense of entitlement if he's going to do something so reckless like that?
I think you hit it right on his sense of entitlement. He thought he was bulletproof.
Yeah.
And that's, and yes, we can say that the P makes men do a lot of reckless things, but even the ego in general make men do a lot of things. Like a lot of people, especially the more power you get, you think you're bulletproof. Look at Puff Daddy or P Diddy or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
He thought he was literally bulletproof.
Yeah.
And for a while, people keep feeding you stuff like, yeah, whatever, it's so good, you can't do no wrong, But so he thought he was bulletproof. But I want to even go to like something even a little deeper. I mean, if you don't think that the Biden administration knew what was going on, or were they a part of this too? It seemed like, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but it's like if this was on public stuff, I'm sure pretty much they had privy to what was going on.
Yeah,
and they wanted to push the agenda that they wanted to push.
Yeah,
was having kids on lockdown, giving us untested vaccines or unproven vaccine over a course of 10 plus years.
Yeah,
and I think Fauci is. It looks like Fauci is wrong. We can't even tell because he's pleading the fifth, so he's not talking about it. So, but it seems like he might. It goes a lot deeper than Fauci.
It must go deeper than Fauci. And if he's unwilling to talk, then we'll never know. So at the very least, we need to have him talk about what's in his diaries.
Yes.
Because the thing is, there's a couple of things. Number one is, the guy saw himself as a hero. He's already been on record on some news program where he said, we didn't know anything really about this. So at first we told everybody, don't use masks. Do not use a mask. It will not help you. And the reality is that I told everybody, he's on record for this. I told everybody not to use a mask because we needed them for our first responders and for people like that, our emergency people. And so he's on record of saying that. And then he said, and then I said, okay, go ahead and use masks and say 6 feet apart. But there was never any reliable science. There was never any tests to see is 6 feet the right amount of feet. It was really just the collective experience of Fauci and some others who said, okay, let's do that. And the only problem with that is when they're making judgments on the fly, they're basically practicing medicine on us, which is what our doctors do. They practice medicine, but our doctors do that, not our nation. Our nation ought not to be allowed to practice on us and making things mandatory. So when Fauci came out with masks for everybody, but we don't have no data to back it, but masks for everybody. And then the other side said, excuse me, we're not saying no, we're perfectly happy to do it, but do you have any data to back you up? And then it's like, strike 1 and 2, no more videos out of you, That's the kind of thing we were seeing. Just when we were asking questions, we were seeing stuff like that. The whole social media landscape mobilized to basically block any any challenges to this guy.
Yeah.
Even legitimate scientific challenges. You know, there was a group of hundreds of scientists led by, bigwig Stanford guys who said, this approach that we're taking is not really the soundest approach we could be taking. And we recommend a different course of action. But all those scientists were essentially shelved. They weren't so much canceled as shelved.
Bullied.
Yeah, they were bullied and they were pushed into their own little corners. They were allowed to operate because they were such important scientists, but they were pushed into their corner, not able to really, not really able to expound on this letter that they all willingly signed. So, I mean, what do you think is the next step to Fauci? I mean, do we need to see states attorney generals, like, since he's got no pardon for that, to challenge him and
I think Florida's already on that case. I want to ask you this. Well, first of all, you asked me a question, like, where do you think what should happen to Fauci? What should be the next steps for Fauci?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think, I guess he does have a federal pardon, but these states definitely need to go after him because, that's, he affected all the states in adversely ways, stuff.
What do you say to people who say, it's in the past, what's the point? Just bury it. Come on, just move forward.
I mean, there is something to that. And I think, but I think if you don't hold people to a standard, then it's going to be lawlessness. And I think, and this is a slight at Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump needs to be up for stuff after he's out of the presidency too. But that's another podcast.
Yeah.
But I think if you break the law, you need to have consequences. We can't have a country where there's not consequences, especially from the very top people.
Yeah.
What kind of standard are we setting? What kind of example are we setting? And of course, we do need to kind of move forward, but we can't move forward if the foundation is broken. And so that's very important for our foundation, is to have consequences for bad actors in our society.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. So I've been watching a lot of these police body cam videos lately. It's hugely entertaining. I mean, any new show #1 on Netflix or something like that does not hold a candle to
Worst Neighbors. I like The Worst Neighbors.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, pretty good.
All right, I'll have to see that so that I can actually speak, from authority. But these body cam videos, first of all, they're hugely entertaining. It's always people they're just going to get off with a ticket or maybe even a warning, but they start to lose their shit for no particular reason. And you start to see the breakdown. Wow, their egos just keep getting in the way, or their lack of accountability or whatever. But the one thing that really, really drove something crazy home to me, because, we all heard about how, during, because, we had we used to have a pre 9/11 world and then a post 9/11 world. We had a pre-lockdown world and a post-lockdown world.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a different world, post-lockdown to pre.
I don't remember 2019 anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all.
What is 2019?
I remember a time when you transgress against the law, like if you steal some stuff from a Target, then that guy's going to wind up in bracelets, and he's actually going to do some time. But during that time, they were doing catch and release. At least here in California and a lot of other states.
Under $1,000.
Under $1,000. The police weren't even pursuing a lot of stuff because of the catch and release. They figured, why put ourselves in jeopardy, both professional jeopardy and also physical jeopardy, if the DA is going to drop everything. So in these body cam videos, a lot of times you'll see, because they start getting violent against the cops, like they'll be kicking cops, they'll be spitting on cops, they'll be doing all kinds of crazy stuff like that. They'll even flee. Like the cop will say, wait here, and then the guy takes off, or the lady takes off in the car. Then they have to do a chase, and they're doing like 80 miles an hour, and they finally get him. But then when they tell you, on a lot of them, they tell you what the resolution is, and they say all these charges were dropped. The only charge that was kept was resisting without violence, and a $400 fine, and anger management for 3 months, and probation for 6 months. And you're like, what did I just see? She actually crashed into a police car, and that's all she got? I can't believe it. So it's so unsatisfying, and it makes you think, why do the police even bother? So now I'm not so surprised when the police, when there's 8 cops with 2 14-year-old boys on a street corner because it's 3 minutes past curfew. Now I know why they take a stop like that instead of go after somebody who might be drunk driving. It's because the drunk drivers are not going to be seriously prosecuted. So you may as well just not put yourself at risk that way.
Where things are poorly incentivized. For law enforcement agents.
Yeah, I find it's bad for the fabric of the nation and for the morality of the culture. So if we don't see these people even if it's in the past, if we don't see them,
Of course.
brought before justice, even if it wasn't against the law, it's you lied to the American people, you breached your trust. And here's something I wanted to add. So if you're a hero, if you see yourself as a hero, like, I lied to the country about the masks because I didn't want there to be not enough masks.
What about the animal parasite medicine too? They lied about the data.
They lied about that too.
The data too.
The ivermectin. Yeah.
Ivermectin, yes.
The ivermectin. So one of the theories about ivermectin worked. It worked on almost everybody who took it.
Well, it had good clinical evidence that it did work.
Right. And I think they asked Fauci under oath, why didn't you guys use ivermectin? He would have been forced to give the truth, which is we can't use an experimental emergency approved drug like the vaccine if we have something that's been approved that also works. That's like a law. So you couldn't authorize the use of monoclonal antibodies, which have been around forever, and also ivermectin, which won the Nobel Prize as a human drug. Yes, it's also an animal drug, just like antibiotics. I take antibiotics if I get a sinus infection, but the steak I had last night, that cow also had antibiotics because that's what they feed these animals to keep them from getting sick while they're, in the feedlot, which is a whole different discussion we can have. But the reality is that you've got ivermectin that worked. Some people will say, and this might be true, that the studies that show that it works against COVID mostly came from India. So the argument can be that, well, in India, a lot of people, or maybe most people, naturally and without any discomfort have parasites in them because of their food preparation, food handling techniques.
So their immune system, they were definitely had a different immune system.
Right. So they were already fighting parasites, and that's their natural state. So when they take ivermectin, it helps them with their COVID response because now it gives their immune system something less to worry about. So that, but we need to study that. We don't know if it's true. And I'm sure Fauci would have an idea of whether that was true or not. But we'll never know now because, he pled the fifth.
Well, so it seems like all roads lead to the fact that Dr. Fauci and maybe other people wanted to push this vaccine upon us.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment without sounding like a conspiracy theorist?
It's a fair assessment because the idea is since Fauci authorized the gain of function, which he lied to Congress about when he said to Rand Paul, Senator, with his voice, he said, this was like maybe 5 years ago when he was hauled in front of Congress, or 7 years ago, no, 5 or 4 years ago, I never participated in gain of function. I had nothing to do with Wuhan and gain of function.
What, I'm not familiar.
Gain of function is when you take a virus that exists in nature and you fuck with it, like the way a virologist would, to turn it into something more virulent, something that actually spreads better or has worse effects. And you do gain of function because the idea is, well, eventually, since there's so many people and we're moving around so much, all these things are going to mutate, and we might actually get a really nasty virus that's based on this, just naturally. So let's fuck with it now and make it all crazy, and then let's create a vaccine for it, or some kind of a reply for it, so that if it ever does come, or if our enemies do ever use chemical warfare on us or biological warfare on us, then we've got a solution for it because we've seen it before. So you can imagine that there's a reason to do gain of function research. I would like to see all that stuff done on the moon. And you don't bring anybody back until you somehow figure out a way to use one of those sci-fi decontamination chambers on them. But they should not be doing that anywhere here on this planet. Because, it's like, if you only have 4 tires in your car, you're not going to fuck around and say, I wonder if I'll make it through this glass. No, do that if you've got 4 spare tires in the trunk. Do not do that if you don't have spare tires. And we only have one planet. And we can't be doing that stuff. If global warming is so bad, climate change is so bad, which in many ways it is, then, messing around with gain of function is so much worse. Related to that, do you know what a chiron is?
No.
A chiron is like the cis version of a molecule.
Okay.
So that's why they say cis. That's why they say cisgender. Like cis, like there's a cis form which you get the end part of the molecule going in one direction, and then you get the I think the trans form, which it goes in the opposite direction. And our biology is all on the cis. So if we ever get a pathogen that's on the trans side, our body doesn't know what to do with it, and it will mess us up. So they're doing experiments right now on trans pathogens. Why they would be doing that, I have no idea, because it's basically is kryptonite bullets. You know, bullets bounce off of Superman, but if it's a kryptonite bullet, that thing's going right through him and it's going to shred his heart. That's what a trans molecule pathogen would do for it. Not a transgender, but they may go through you too, but in a different way. But going back to the hero thing, if Fauci saw himself as a hero, because he even said, I took one for the team and I said something about the masks. That's the only thing he took the blame for. But here's the thing, Dr. Fauci, you're not taking one for the team if you expect to keep your job after you did the dirty deed. Taking one for the team means I'm going to ruin my career by taking this hit because it's for the good of the nation. That's being a hero. When you suffer, when you sacrifice your job, it's like, you know, I lied to the public. I did it for a reason. I saved you guys, but now I must resign because you can't have a liar in charge. That's really the right thing to do. You take one for the team. You don't say all those things except for this part. You say, but I am going to stay in the company as head of my department. I'm going to continue to tell you what to do regarding COVID because even though I lied, I still deserve to stay because I'm such a damn good guy. That's pretty much what his position was. We can't let that kind of thing stand. It's a demoralizing thing. It's like watching all these people who are doing horrible things on these traffic stops. Yet they're getting a little slap on the wrist, if not having all charges dismissed entirely. So we can't let that go, because then it's a moral hazard. It inspires other people.
Lawlessness.
Yeah, it inspires them to cut corners too. When we see our leaders cut corners, why are we going to stay true? I mean, sure, if we have like strict morality, we will. But at a certain point, we're going to say, this is disgusting and I don't want to be here, because our leaders are cutting corners and they're not being held accountable, and we're being gaslit by saying, you shouldn't be living in the past like that. You should move forward. It's like, gee, you know.
We definitely. That's
That's what they used to tell women that were groped. It's like, no, you should look forward. You know, your uncle's fine. Leave him alone. It's like, no, you can't do that.
No,
you can't do that.
Exactly. He definitely needs to, in my opinion, definitely. I mean, they need to have a thorough investigation. I guess federally, he has immunity, but the states should definitely go after Dr. Fauci. I'm very disappointed in Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
So
Florida, Texas.
The rest of the United States.
You know, let's make some inquiries.
Yes.
Let's make some inquiries, and let's be honest about it. Let's not be partisan. Let's just be honest. Let's say, you know, whatever your politics are, we just can't have this. You know, we can't be willing to throw away our principles just to win one battle. It's like it's kind of like the way, you know, at least for me,
you lose the war.
You lose the war. Like for me, the war was lost in 9/11 when it came out that we were torturing people. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
You know, we just lost it. We lost our innocence. You know, it's like if a straight dude, if he blows one penis, then
he's Abby one time.
then he's a penis blower. I mean, that's what it is. You do it one time, and that's what you are. So
cherry is popped.
The cherry is popped. Yeah. So that's what happened when it came out. We were torturing people. It's like, oh no. So we can't let this be another moment like that. Like we let our prime guy go ahead and do this nonsense as described in his journals. If we let that go, then that's another face palm. We can't keep doing that to this country.
Well, I ask you one question.
Yeah.
If Fauci is probably guilty of some wrongdoing, he's probably a small fish in this operation. Do we continue trying to find other bad actors in this operation?
So if he is a small fish, if it turns out he is a small fish, if we somehow figure that out, I don't know who the bigger fish would be. I mean, if it was maybe the Biden administration,
Pharmaceutical companies.
I have no doubt the pharmaceutical companies are involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how we could, because they benefited so much. I mean, they had at least a tenfold increase just on these COVID vaccines.
Yeah.
You know, you had the government was the main buyer of these. I mean, and they were printing money, which is another thing we can talk about at some point. But I think that if the trail doesn't stop with him, we got to keep going. But I think the trail is it may not stop with him, but I don't think it gets higher than him. I think he's pretty much the head of the snake, and any kind of dealings he had with drug companies or things like that. I just assume that that's the case anyway. I'm more interested in what his role was and how much he knew about what was happening in the Wuhan labs. I don't think we'll ever know that. But I'm just looking for the non-criminal stuff, at least. You know, just admit it. Just admit what you did. You know, just admit you let the country down. Just admit that you served your own purposes and your own needs and your own grandiosity. You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, you know, because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's the old saying. And the reality is there's a reason why our country is organized so clumsy. Is very, very clumsy and a lot of moving parts. But the idea is that that's so that power doesn't accumulate too much into one place. Like, it wasn't that long ago that the Senate was not elected by people, because it was like, what do we know? It was the states, the state legislatures that would select the senator they would send to Washington. It wasn't supposed to be a popularity vote. It was supposed to be like the wise men. You know, Congress is supposed to be a bunch of yahoos. That you can be illiterate and go to Congress if you're popular enough. But the Senate was supposed to be different. It was supposed to be, you know, serious, sober people who were like doing all the important stuff in the legislature, and Congress was doing all the all the funding had to come through Congress because that's the people's money. But every really serious decision had to come from the Senate. But, you know, at a certain point in the last, I guess, 100 and some odd years, we switched. And then now the Senate happens through popular vote. So that might have been the beginning of the end of the deterioration of the Senate. That's something maybe we can have a guest. Anybody who's a PhD candidate or a PhD that we want to talk to about you know, how the Senate is structured and what changes we've seen historically, in addition to the one I just mentioned, with the Senate being now voted on by the people versus by the legislatures of each state. You know, I'd be very interested in finding out what some scholars have to say about that.
Fauci.
I plead the fifth.
Fifth.